the way that Arthur Smith used Jonnu Smith was not great for Kyle Pitts' projection, because he used him as a blocker on play action about 50% of the time. Mm-hmm. So you do, I believe, need to spread him out, use him as that traditional X-type receiver in a lot of packages, and go 12 personnel a lot, because you do also have Hayden Hurst who can take up that role. You do not. And listen, Kyle Pitts can block. That's something that he wasn't given enough credit for coming out as a prospect, but you don't want him to.
The NFC South preseason division power rankings are here. I'm Cody Roark of Pro Football Network Daily, joined alongside lead NFL analyst Dalton Miller and Ian Cummings, and we're breaking down the power ranking structure here in the preseason based on the offseason moves that all of these teams made, which team will finish first in the division, which team will finish last. You can join us in the comment section down below, but Dalton, let's start things off right here, right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers returning everybody back essentially here in the 2021 NFL season. I mean, is it safe to make the assumption that they're the odds-on favorite to finish top of the division here this upcoming year?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's not even essentially. They literally are bringing back all 22 of their starters from the Super Bowl. It's unbelievable. The last time it happened, I believe, was with the Raiders in '76. And so that's the only other time that it had happened in the Super Bowl era. Yeah, they're the best team in the NFL from top to bottom. It's for me, it's really not even close. I think that they have even a much better roster than the Kansas City Chiefs do. The Kansas City Chiefs just have a generational talent at quarterback, and an offensive mind at head coach that allows them to score a boatload of points. But yeah, from top to bottom, I mean, they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They have the best, for most people's money, wide receiving core in the NFL, especially when you go 4 and 5 deep. I think they really separate themselves as the best receiving core. Leonard Fournette has kind of found his own as a running back finally after leaving Jacksonville. Ronald Jones showed improvement last year. And then defensively, man, 𝗬𝗢𝗣𝗑 is one of the more underrated players in the entire NFL. When he is healthy, he is a dominant force on the defensive side of the ball. They have one of the top 5 linebackers in the NFL in Lavonte David. I assume many of you would think that I was going to say Devin White there. Listen, guys, he's not there yet. He's not top 5 yet, but he has the potential to be the best linebacker in the entire NFL. We'll see if he gets there. And then on the back end at safety and at corner, at corner, they have guys that you look at and you don't say, hey, like, these guys are fantastic. They just go out and get results. On top of that, you have Jordan Whitehead, who has been fantastic at free safety for them. And then Antoine Winfield Jr., who had his lumps, took his lumps in coverage as a rookie, but was fantastic as a run defender and as a pass rusher. That is a fun football team from top to bottom. They're the best team in the NFC South. The second best team overall in the NFC South, in my opinion, are the New Orleans Saints. That's how I think that they finish. I think you see a better Jameis Winston in 2021 than we have seen in prior seasons. I don't know how much the visuals, the LASIK is actually going to help. I just think that Sean Payton is going to help him out more than Dirk Cutter did, or more than Bruce Arians did, because Bruce Arians' offense, we saw it with Tom Brady early in his time in Tampa Bay, some issues trying to press the ball down the field. It's a very attack-heavy downfield type of offense, and you're going to see more creativity from this Saints offense. Now, part of Jameis Winston's issues are just his decision-making in the short areas of the field, so that'll be interesting to see if he can overcome. But outside of that, the defense is very good at all 3 levels. They have Marcus Williams, Marshawn Lattimore. Pete Werner was a great pickup at linebacker for them as well, to pair with Demario Davis, who is another guy who's top 5 in the league at his position as well. And then Jordan Cameron. That would be the tight end. Cameron Jordan is fantastic, and David Onyemata, when he comes back from his suspension, is a fantastic defensive tackle as well. I think that's the second best team in the division. Carolina Panthers. Listen, Carolina Panthers fans, next year is your year. Next year is the year, because Matt Rule, the program builder that he is, he does it in year 3. He did it in year 3 with Temple. He did it in year 3 with Baylor. There was steady improvement from year 1 to year 2. I expect to see that as well. Listen, guys, they've spent almost every pick of their draft. They did spend every pick of their draft in 2020 on the defensive side of the ball. Brian Burns is on the doorstep of being an elite pass rusher in the NFL. He really just needs to get the production out of the way because all of the pass rush moves are there. Bravion Roy is a ridiculous athlete at the defensive tackle position. Derek Brown was fantastic. Yetur Gross-Matos has a ton of upside. Shaq Thompson at linebacker. Denzel Perryman is good there. Hassan Reddick, they got from Arizona, had 12 sacks last year, so he's somebody opposite of Brian Burns to take away some of the attention from him. Dante Jackson has always been a little bit of a disappointment, but Jeremy Chin was fantastic, and J.C. Horn in round one. There is a lot to love on the defensive side of the ball for this team. It all comes down to Sam Darnold. And guys, I got to be honest, it's part of my job here. I am not a believer that he can fully turn it around and become a franchise quarterback. Now, I think just leaving Adam Gase, you're going to get better by default. I'm an objective NFL analyst, and he is a trash can. I mean, he is a program disintegrator. And what we've seen from him is going from an NFL head coach to a high school offensive coordinator. There's good reason for that, guys. Sam Darnold will be better by default. I just don't know if he can turn it around fully the way that Ryan Tannehill did. He will be better in Carolina. They have weapons in DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I thought the drafting of Terrace Marshall on the outside was a good move. I just don't think that they have enough to really compete with that second spot in this division this year. I think they can get there next year with more improvements, more work in the offseason with free agency, and then with the draft in 2022. Unfortunately, the Atlanta Falcons are the fourth team in this division. Kyle Pitts is going to be a ton of fun to watch. This offense, I think, is actually going to be quite good. We've seen with Arthur Smith, 2 years in Tennessee as the offensive coordinator, top 5 in DVOA both seasons. And that's with less offensive weapons, in my opinion, than they have here. Would have been fun to see him also have Julio Jones, but I digress. Defensively, it's just not there for them yet. They've spent a ton of resources in the secondary. The secondary is still bad. We hope that it improves this year. I think Richie Grant is going to be a huge addition for them in 2021. I just think that they're a team on the rebuild, and it's going to take a couple of years. I'm sorry, Atlanta fans.
What do you think about this too, Ian? Because we've had also some Falcons fans in our comment section on YouTube saying, hey, they're actually going to compete for the division, which, look, I think it's very tough. Look, here's Matt Ryan. Okay, we know Matt Ryan, I still think is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL based on what he did last year. Yeah. However, the loss of Julio is huge. And yes, the Falcons fans, there were some that said, hey, well, Julio was injured. It's not like they were losing much. Well, Julio Jones, when healthy, which he is right now, is a damn good difference maker. Calvin Ridley, going to be phenomenal. Can he stay healthy? Kyle Pitts, is he going to transition a little bit to the outside, or is he going to play a little bit more inline? Those are some questions that I have about the Falcons. I think that they're, based on where you look at the hierarchy right now of how it plays out, I've got the Falcons at the bottom. I've got the Bucs at top. And really, it's a coin flip right now between Carolina and New Orleans for that number 2, number 3 spot. I think they're interchangeable. But Ian, I want to know what you think. How do you see the division playing out here in 2021? Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still have it? And also, what are your thoughts on the Carolina Panthers and where they may fit?
Yeah, I'll start with Atlanta because we were just talking about it, so I might as well start with that. Atlanta, I feel like I have to give the Falcons a little bit of credit if we're getting some heat from the fans, and I will give them some credit because I think Matt Ryan is still, a lot of people thought that maybe they're picking so high. Why not just pick a first-round quarterback this year, right? And we'll see if maybe they regret passing on Justin Fields. We'll see what happens there, but I do think Matt Ryan is still, like you said, he's a top 10, 12 quarterback in the league still, and their offensive line isn't terrible. They do have a little bit of turnover there. We're going to see Matt Hennessy start at center, I think, and I think Josh Andrews and Jalen Mayfield are competing for one guard spot, which not super excited about that. That's going to be a little bit of a hairy area in year one, but they do have a decent tackle duo in Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry. Not a great tackle duo again, but they can be serviceable, and I think Matt Ryan is a good enough, more experienced enough quarterback where he can at least navigate the pocket a little bit. Even without Julio Jones, the receiving core, the weapons core, if you will, it's pretty exciting. Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage in an increased role, I think could do a lot. They got Frank Darby in the draft, who I think was an underrated receiving option. And Kyle Pitts, man, I had the opportunity to write his draft profile this past season, and I followed every game, and it was like watching a highlight reel every week. It was insane. He's an incredible talent, super versatile. I'm very excited to see how he gets used Use him as a receiver, though. You have to use him as a receiver because that's where the most upside comes for him. Defensively, too, here's the problem. I don't think this roster, it has some bright spots, but overall, I don't think it's good enough yet. The pass rushing presence on the edge is definitely not there yet. You have Grady Jarrett on the interior, but you need more. You need a more cohesive pass rushing unit. At linebacker, they do have Deion Jones. They do have Oluokun, who's a pretty good, versatile piece at linebacker. But in the secondary, too, there's a lot of young pieces. It has to come together. I'm not sure if it's going to. Like I said, Darren Hall is a sleeper to start in the slot, I think. I really liked him coming out. A.J. Terrell in year 2, maybe he progresses. Richie Grant at free safety, I like that, too. But here's the thing. It's a young roster. I think you need some more seasoning. So I'm putting them at 4th, too. I think another team that we don't really need to go into too much, number 1, Tampa Bay. We talked about that. Moving on. I think 2 and 3 is a combination of New Orleans and Carolina. It's just a matter of which one you pick. I would probably err on the New Orleans side like Dalton did. It's interesting, man. And I think that there's a big gap between Tampa Bay and whatever team is next, right? It's a big gap. But New Orleans, whoever plays a quarterback, they are going to benefit from a top-tier offensive line. They're going to benefit from Michael Thomas. They don't have a lot outside of Thomas in that receiving core, but they do have some intriguing talent at tight end coming up. Adam Troutman is a guy I really liked a couple years back, so maybe he can do something in an increased role. And then defensively, I know a lot of people are freaking out about the 𝗠𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗦 suspension. He's only suspended for 6 games, and even while he's gone, I do think they have a lot of versatility on that defensive line. You talk about Cameron Jordan, 𝗬𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘, they got in free agency. Peyton Turner, they got in round 1. All of these guys have the size to kind of rotate around, and they have that versatility. So you can mix and match. I don't think it's a dire situation there. And then they added Pete Werner at linebacker to go along with Demario Davis. They got Marcus Williams coming back on the franchise tag. So I really don't think things are as dire on defense as people are talking about in that offensive line. As long as Jameis Winston improves a little bit, as long as he cuts down the turnovers a little bit, I think they can be a competitive team. So we'll see. He has the offensive line. And then Carolina. Carolina is an interesting team. Again, I'm very excited about the young talent there. J.C. Horn was my top-rated corner, so I'm going to be tuning in every chance I can get to watch him. But it all goes to the quarterback. And I think a team that we were talking about a little bit ago, kind of similar situations, Carson Wentz in Indianapolis with Sam Darnold, because both these guys are coming off years where they basically crumbled, And so they are big reclamation projects. The difference is we haven't really seen high quality play from Sam Darnold. We at least saw that from Wentz a couple years ago. So really with Darnold, you're starting from square one. And I will contest, you cannot really improve offensive minds from Adam Gase to Joe Brady. You are not going to find many improvements that are that stark, comparing those two people. It's not going to happen. But I do think there is a lot of work to do. And so if Carolina's roster was really good, if it was really experienced and seasoned and ready to compete right now, I would say maybe they can challenge for a wild card spot, but I'm not quite there yet. The offensive line was rated as the 31st out of 32 in our own Ben Rolfe's offensive line rankings. So they have some work to do. Defensively, a lot of young talent, but again, it's going to take some time. Like Dalton said, I think year 3 is the magic number for Matt Rule.
Yeah, real quick, you were bringing up using Kyle Pitts as a wide receiver, and I think that's really important because the way that Arthur Smith used Jonnu Smith was not great for Kyle Pitts' projection, because he used him as a blocker on play action about 50% of the time. So you do, I believe, need to spread him out, use him as that traditional X-type receiver in a lot of packages, and go 12 personnel a lot, because you do also have Hayden Hurst who can take up that role. You do not. And listen, Kyle Pitts can block. That's something that he wasn't given enough credit for coming out as a prospect, but you don't want him to, because he's such a dynamic wide receiver. You need to use him in that role.
Let's see how things play out here in the NFC South in 2021. You're going to catch us every single day beginning August 2nd, Pro Football Network Daily, 30 minutes of pull up your chair, have your coffee. Let's talk football with Dalton, Ian, and myself. Be sure to subscribe to the Pro Football Network YouTube channel to get access to the NFC West preseason division power rankings.